Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizzano, and this is episode 351 of the world famous, the University Love, the best podcast in 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call this thing online marketing moves. And we are coming to you live today. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, it is Thursday, July the 29th, 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, I am recording this at midnight. This is how much I love you guys, okay? I'm recording this show at midnight. The reason why we're recording at midnight is because, ladies and gentlemen, my wife is in the hospital, okay? Everybody, say a little prayer for my wife as she goes into labor, all right? This is going to be next couple days are going to be very adventurous, but we will be a-okay. I'm very excited. So in the morning, well, I record, mosey my way back to the hospital, and spend as much time as possible waiting around on the baby. But anyway, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about, this is going to be a 2-segment episode. Yes, 2 segments. And we are going to discuss a movie that I enjoy to watch every now and then. It is called Tin Cup, and we are going to discuss 2 sides of the movie. Number 1, we are going to discuss going forward, taking chances, leaping, having faith, being aggressive. We're going to talk about that in the first segment. And then the second segment, we're going to discuss something else. But if you want to hear what we're going to talk about in the second segment, stay tuned. All right. But first, we have an announcement to make. On this podcast, we are going to do something. We are going to start to answer a question of the day. Now, I want you to participate in this show. So I want questioners from the listeners. Now listen, we have listeners from all over the world, from the great continent of Australia to to Egypt, to London, all the way to Seattle, Washington. We have people listening, all across the world. So if you have a question and if your question is great, then you will be featured as question of the day. And the question of the day can be anything from, marketing, marketing, motivation, mindset, whatever question you want to ask the question. If it's good enough, we will shout you out. We will answer you. We will ask your question. We will answer your question, and we will take it from there. So if you have a question that you want to ask, if you have a question that you think will be worthy enough to get on the show, email me at tony@onlinemarketingmoves.com. Once again, that's tony@onlinemarketingmoves.com. And in the next couple weeks, 3 weeks, we will start to answer these questions on a daily basis. All right. So, but with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the program. Now, the movie, if you never seen the movie Tin Cup, we can check it out if you want. But not, I will give you the synopsis. It's about a underachiever. This guy, he was a great golfer in college, but then he pedaled around a little bit. He didn't do a whole lot. So now he lives in a little town in Texas. He has a sort of a golf range, he makes a few bucks, but he's not living out his potential. But the one thing about this guy is Roy McAvoy, whenever he does get the opportunity to do something, he goes for it. it's swing, it's home run or bust for Mister for Mister Tin Cup, and in some ways that's a great aspect to have because I'll get with it the movie and he qualifies for the U.S. Open, and if you don't know the U.S. Open, that's the big golf tournament. They have the U.S. Open. They have, in the United Kingdom, they have the Open Championship, which, you know, people here in America we call it the British Open, but they have all these golf tournaments. But the U.S. Open is the championship for America. And so you can, and the best thing about this tournament is you can qualify if you have a certain handicap, so anybody can qualify, anybody can play in the U.S. Open, but you have to make the qualifying cut. But so he makes the cut, and then he does so well that he's in a position to be in the final pan on the last day of the U.S. Open, and he's down a shot. It's two guys, a guy that he played college golf with. Both of them are down a shot. So both of them need, they need like a birdie they need 1 point basically. I'm not gonna get into the golf minutia, but they basically need to go for it so they can position themselves to tie the leader of the clubhouse. Now, the guy he used to play golf with, he doesn't go for it. He lays up, which is kind of like, why lay up? Why not go for it? If you're trying to win, sometimes you have to go for it, But he doesn't do it. And of course, Tin Cup, he goes for it, and does it work out or not? I won't give away the end of the movie, but he went for it. And sometimes in life, a lot of times people will not go for it, and that's a quality that you need to have, especially when you want to start. Whether you want to do copywriting, whether you want to, host, a YouTube channel. The thing about this whole scenario, the thing about this whole online thing is, in order to get, because you can't, you ever had these people, they don't make enough money, okay? So if you work with somebody or somebody, you have a relative or something like that, and they constantly complain about money, and they constantly complain about the job they have or the life they're living, and then it's like, what? So what are you gonna do about it? And they go, I don't know what I'm gonna do about it. Blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, why don't you try to start something? And then like, start what? What am I gonna do? After a while, you, with all the information that they have on the internet, this is not the 60s, this is not the 70s, this is not even the 80s. I was born in 1979. So the 80s, I was a little kid. So we'll say the 90s. In the 90s, I was, an adult. By the end of the decade, I was an adult. And so, but they didn't have there was no compute. Well, especially in my neck of the woods, there was no computers. There was no information was not at your fingertips. Okay, you knew that there's different ways that you could make money. And I made money in a variety of ways when I was a kid. I crushed cans. I raked leaves. We lived I grew up in an apartment. They would have somebody and say, "Hey, you wanna help us pick up grass or whatever, pick up leaves or whatever." And you say, "Yeah," and they give you $20. I would go to work with my dad on the farm and make $20, $30, something like that. But now the information is so prevalent that, if I could have been like 13, I could have said, well, let me pick up this camera and start recording myself or start filming myself or develop a YouTube channel, something like that, And so what I'm saying, all that to say, there's so much information. There's so many ways that you can make a buck, even if you work a part-time job, no person should say there's not enough money out there in the world. Like, there's plenty of money. You just have to go find it. You have to go discover it, and it's up to you to go for it. And a lot of times, too many people, they sit back and they're not aggressive. and they just sit back and they sort of wait for things to happen. You know, sometimes you have to make things happen. Sometimes you have to push the envelope. Sometimes you have to go for it. You know, go for the gusto. You know, don't be afraid. Don't be nervous. Don't be timid. You know, like, you know, push yourself, push yourself as hard as you can. You know, like, you see the opportunity, you take the opportunity, you go for it. It's like we talked about this yesterday. We talked about, you know, ideas and everything. And my wife, she was telling me something yesterday. She was like, you know, you gotta. She said after she said in the next couple of months, I want to see you on all platforms. And I said, you know, you're right. I should definitely be on. Like, you know, I'm starting to get into the habit of not just taking it to Twitter, you know, but going on Facebook, um, creating ads, doing all that stuff, you know, because I know that even though I've stepped a foot forward, it's more, you know, give you more. I need to give myself more. I need to step out more. I need to do more, you know, to push this thing. Because if in my heart, I know I have a great product, so I need to push it more, and I need to push it out there so other people can discover this podcast, other people can discover the show, other people can discover the branding that we are doing. And so, you know, I know in my mind, it's like, okay, we're doing some things, but we need to do more. So it's gonna be more pushing, you know, involved. But and that's just me. But you have to feel the same way. Like, you have to push yourself. Like, in order to get to the place where you want to go, sometimes you have to do things that you're uncomfortable with. You have to put yourself out there. And that's okay. You know, we'll people will be with you, people will support you. But the most important thing is believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing, and push yourself. You know, even if you don't believe, push yourself, and then the belief will come with you. You know, trust me. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is just go. You know, and everything else follow with you. You know, if you don't believe in yourself, go anyway. The belief is catch up. You know, once you start doing something, you're like, all right, I can do this. You know, it's like, all right, I can do this. You know, it took me a long time to really get comfortable when it comes to driving a truck, but by year 7, year 8, there was nothing I knew that if somebody told me, hey, go drive this tanker, go drive this, go drive that, I'll say, okay, no problem. I can do whatever, like step forward, and it took a while, but there was always a new challenge, and I would always go, okay, we're gonna take on this challenge. So like one day I was in, Minnesota, and it was snowing, and it was snowing pretty bad, and I said, I should park, and I said no, I said because I said if I drive 50 miles to into I think I was crossing into Wisconsin, something like that. I said, there's no snow over there. So I'm gonna drive these 50 miles. I'm gonna get through this. It might take me an hour, it might take me 2 hours. It took me it took me 2.5 hours. But we went for it, we pushed it, we got to Wisconsin, there was no snow, and I was able to get another 400, 500 miles down the road that day. Why? Because those 50 miles, I just said, you know what? The snow is one thing, it's not ice, snow. Go for it. So sometimes you have to push yourself, even though you're like, I don't know. You push yourself, give yourself, be daring, be bold, be brave, be like Tin Cup. Tin Cup, he went for it, He needed a shot, and he said, you know what? I'm going for the gusto, And so sometimes you have to, the risk, reward the risk, Without the risk, how are you going to get the reward? And, like we said, you can always make up sometimes if you strike out, step back up and swing again. And, eventually you're going to connect, So remember that. Go for it. Don't be timid, don't play it safe all the time. Sometimes you just have to step out there on the leap of faith, and you have to go for it. All right. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna stop this. We're gonna listen to the commercial about Anchor. You know the routine. the Anchor commercial. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the other side of the movie Tin Cup, the thing that you want to look out for, you know? All right. So listen to this commercial and we'll be back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back now. We are going to talk about the down side of my man Tin Cup. Now, Tin Cup, he went for the shot. He spoiler alert, okay? He went for the shot. He shot it. He didn't make it. Okay. His ball ended up in the water. It was a great shot, but the ball ended up in the water. So he had a chance to stop the bleeding. He had a chance to recover. He had a chance to get it up there, make par, and go into a tie. But Tin Cup said, we ain't doing that. He said, I'm going to hit this ball until it lands on the green. And then he decided he went on and imploded. The ball, it took him like 6 shots for the ball to land onto the green. And by then he blew his chance to tie and get himself into a playoff. He blew the whole thing. He blew the US Open. He imploded. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about you and implosion. Are you a self-destructor? And what I mean by that is, you know what I'm talking about. We have people who, let's say you get into a relationship, you start dating somebody, 3 months are going, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. It's very nice, it's very lovely, and then they say something to you like, oh, I love you, or I can see myself being with you, and then you go, I don't like that. I don't like the way her toes are. I don't like the way his beard looks. I just don't like them, I don't think. Because the relationship was going so good, and you get a thing where you're like, I'm going to self-implode this thing. We're not doing this. Are you one of these people? Ladies and gentlemen, self-implosion is real, okay? Tin Cup had it. And then his ex-girlfriend said, see, this is why we broke up. He always has to go for it. Self-imploded. Self-implosion. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to avoid that. You'll know if you are a person who likes to self-implode, because whether it's that you have a job, you're dating somebody, you have friends, you tend to, when things are going great or going good, you tend to like, this ain't. You look around and you're like, what can I blow up? How can I blow something up? You know, and you have to evaluate your life. You have to think about. You have to go back. Sometimes this is what you need to do. Reflect. You know, think about. It's sort of like if you're on your 6th relationship this year, and all 6 of them, you're like, they crazy, they crazy, they crazy. Maybe you are the one with the problems, okay? Sir, madam, whoever you may be, you might be the one with the problems, okay? Because sometimes people can't see their own faults. Sometimes we don't want to see our own faults, you know? And, well, if you have ever been involved with somebody, your friendship, relationship wise, don't matter. Job wise, when things are going good and you're just like, you know what? I don't know, but you're going to explode. You're going to implode. You might want to work on that. You might want to figure out how can I be less self-destructive. Self-destruction is a bad thing, you know. I remember I watched this documentary about a wrestler named the Ultimate Warrior, and he was the heavyweight champion of the world, and for some reason he just couldn't help himself. He imploded. He wanted more money, blah 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 blah, and so they sort of had to fire him. And he never was the same as far as wrestling goes, you know. he wasn't the same after that. And Tin Cup, he got out there and he just imploded. Instead of him just laying up trying to tie for the tie, go for the tie and then take it in the playoffs, imploded. And there's so many examples of people, and people. You don't even have to go through celebrities. You don't have to go to movies. There are people in your life. I had a friend, and he would be in a relationship with his girlfriend, and things would be going good, and he say, I gotta get into an argument, man. Something ain't right. I don't think I want to be here. I'm like, what's wrong? He like, it's boring. It's just quiet. He was just sort of self-destructive, self-imploding, And he would always he would always wreck the relationship. I mean, and it was bad. And she just washed her hands of him, And I myself had thought about this before. I had to think of myself. I'm like, am I self-destructive? Am I self-destructive? Am I a self-imploder? If I was, then I'm glad I'm not anymore, because I haven't, I've stuck with the same job and been in the same relationship, and I enjoy my relationship, and I enjoy for the time being, I enjoy my job, and I had to think about that. I did have resistance, I had resistance in my body because I knew that, but self-implosion, destruction, I don't know. But we all need to check ourselves to make sure that we are not a self-imploder, You don't want to ruin a great relationship. You don't want to ruin a great friendship. You don't want to ruin a great business relationship just because you get mad about anything, in a little tizzy, So be careful, watch yourself. Don't be like Tin Cup. The man imploded. He had a great shot at the end, but it took him too many tries. He played himself out. He went from having a chance at the U.S. Open to just self-destructing, melting down. It was not good, and you don't want to be like that. You want to avoid that situation because even though, yes, on side A, we talked about, yes, you want to go for it, and you do. But sometimes you have to put a limitation on yourself, Going forward for the sake of going forward without thinking about, hey, what's next is not a good thing, And so you want to avoid those situations. But ladies and gentlemen, don't be a self-imploder. Go for it, but don't self-implode, all right? So ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, question of the day is going to be coming soon. So if you have questions about marketing, if you have questions about anything, feel free to email us at tony@onlinemarketingmoves.com. That's tony@onlinemarketingmoves.com. Everybody, we are on the verge of moving this podcast up, moving this podcast out. And we, as you well know, we are the best podcast in 3 galaxies. And we're going to keep it that way. So, but we're going to try to implement a few new things into the show. So please email us, tony@onlinemarketingmoves.com. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We will be back tomorrow with the all-new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Rizzano. Thank you for listening. And as always, everybody, peace.